Welcome to the Guzman channel. Now, before I say anything else, let me make one thing very clear. I haven't actually seen a lot of this year's best films. I've had flicks like Warfare, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and Begonia on my watch list forever, even before they came out. I like to keep track of movies that come out because I do like movies. I just haven't given myself the time to watch any of them. I've kind of just been rewatching The Pit all year. Oh yeah, and I watched the Diddy doc. So as I finally sat down to watch James Sweeney's Twinless earlier this year, I realized halfway through this scene that I was watching the best performance of the goddamn year, if not one of my favorite scenes I've seen in a while. But let's back up for a second. What the hell is Twinless? Twinless is a queer black dramedy written and directed by indie filmmaker James Sweeney, a man who looks like a clone of car seat headrest Will Toledo, who was placed in a different family as an experiment to test nature versus nurture as a theory. Paradoxically to the title, Twinless is a story about, well, twins, as well as connection, both finding and losing it. Instead of getting into a plot summary right now, I'll instead be giving you a rundown on the important characters you need to understand for this scene to make sense. And seeing as the plot of this movie is its characters, I guess this is my last chance to say, spoilers. If you're planning on seeing the movie blind, scram, get the fuck out of here. If you're just here to hear me talk about a movie you haven't seen and aren't planning on seeing, here we go. Rocky and Roman are a set of twins both played by Dylan O'Brien, who is most well known for his roles in the Teen Wolf and Maze Runner franchises. In this film, Rocky is one of two twins, a gay man living in Portland, living his best life with a great job to boot. We don't learn much about Rocky himself. We learned that him and Roman used to be super tight until Rocky came out, and the two of them had a big falling out, after which Rocky moved to Portland to go to college. At the beginning of the film, we find out Rocky actually died during our introduction to Roman. Roman is the twin we actually follow through most of the movie. Somewhat of a deadbeat and not all too bright, Roman is a tough guy with a knack for exercise and a heart of gold. Not in a tsundere way, he's no bully, he actually hates bullies and is more than willing to stand up to them if they fuck with people he cares about. We first see him in attendance at his twin brother's funeral, having to be stoic as person after person compares him to his now dead twin brother. Following the funeral, Roman goes to a twinless twin grief group where he meets Dennis. Dennis, played by Sweeney himself, is not a twin. He's actually a pathological liar with obsessive tendencies and also a gay man. All three of these traits are equally central and important to Dennis as a character. Dennis has a connection to both Rocky and Roman, knowing Rocky before his death and being at least partially responsible for it, and getting to know Roman in the aftermath of Rocky's death. Except while Roman meets Dennis in a twinless twin support group, Dennis is wholly and truly twinless, as in he's never had a twin and used the lie of having one to get close to Roman, kind of seeing him as a replacement for Rocky. And that brings us to this scene. Let's lay a bit more groundwork so you can really get what's going on here. This is pretty much the height of Roman and Dennis's relationship, just after Roman drives the two of them to a hockey game where Dennis was insulted and called the F-slur, and Roman decided to beat the shit out of the assholes who done it. Now back in their hotel room, Roman, well, finally decides to open up a bit. Let me play the scene in full. YouTube copyright, please spare me. The first thing that caught my eye in this scene was Dylan O'Brien's stellar performance. Throughout the first part of the film, O'Brien plays two separate characters. Where they differ in interests, they are united in mannerisms, in origin. It's an admirable performance. And in this scene, O'Brien pulls out a third character, Roman's inner core, a man who's been weighed down by grief and simply immense guilt for his brother's death. We see a man who's been acting tough and stoic break down, not into anger but sadness, in contrast to his violent outbursts in only the last scene, and it's performed just beautifully. Then we get to the second layer. In another sense, Twinless is about masks. It's like that Japanese saying about faces, which ones you show to the world and which ones no one ever sees and all that. The most obvious mask slipping off in this scene is, of course, Roman's tough guy mask, in the way I said in the paragraph previous. Deeper than that, we also get a peek behind the curtains of Roman and Rocky's real relationship as twins. And while it was, pun unintended, Rocky, they still did really care about each other, as we can see from Roman's everything he says in this scene. But at the same time, I think this is where Dennis's mask really starts to slip. Maybe not to Roman. I don't think Roman has any clue that Dennis is lying until his confession later in the film. No, I think Dennis's facade to himself begins to slip in this scene. I think we can see it in his face. The way the tears roll down his face is not a sign of compassion. No, he's completely sharing in Roman's strongest emotion on display: guilt. Dennis here begins to realize that he can't be the cold manipulator he's been pretending to be, that's not really him. And he breaks down in the same way Roman is, though he's trying to keep his walls up to a far, far higher degree. And in a sense, he's being even more unfair to Roman here, his friend bearing everything to him, and he can't even reciprocate. He has to stop himself. And in that moment, I realized that Sweeney's performance here matches O'Brien's jab for jab. He's breaking down in a different way, not necessarily more subtle, but simply more reserved. Maybe this comes back into Dennis's character as a result of his years of trying to fly under the radar to not be remarkable to those he doesn't fancy. Or maybe it's directly aimed at the current moment, at the current situation, an attempt to not let himself confess everything he's been doing and lying about, something that becomes increasingly more difficult for him the more Roman opens up to him. Then I just have to spin back around to the performance itself. This is an unbelievable masterclass in unraveling. In one take, O'Brien takes us on an unbelievable journey from unbothered to anger and then finally to sadness, to grief and regret. And it's so unbelievably well done. I know I said that word 3 times in a row, but I genuinely can't believe it. I can't say much more. Not for a fear of spoiling, though I do really think you ought to watch this film, even if you've watched this video all the way to here. More so that I think the rest of this scene's brilliance is pretty obvious. Like the movie itself, I think Twinless is the twin story of Dylan O'Brien and James Sweeney. O'Brien, long after his Teen Wolf and Maze Runner days, is here to redefine his career, redefine his name as an actor. And while this is in the start of that journey, this is certainly an important milestone that shows that he really has those chops. Sweeney, on the other hand, showed with this film his incredible skill as a director and a writer, being able to so perfectly nail a balance between comedy, drama, and honestly, genuinely kind of unsettling thriller moments. With 1 or 2 more movies under his belt, I could genuinely see Sweeney becoming an incredibly well-known director in the next few years. I don't think he's exactly shown he's ready to become one of the next greats. I don't think he's Christopher Nolan. I don't think he's Scorsese, but though honestly, he might be a Fincher, not a household name you know if you're not like into movies. Of course, you know, fucking film nerd's gonna watch this and be like, oh, well, Fincher's actually incredibly well known. Yeah, well, ask your mom who David Fincher is. She doesn't know. But, you know, she probably knows his movies. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. But again, I'd be happy to be disproven because I love this flick. And with that said, that's where this video ends. Twinless is a great movie. I hope you'll go and watch it if you haven't yet. Top 25 songs of the year video next week. I'll see you guys next week. Bye. I ain't been outside cause the sun don't show. I'm in hella bright.